Hey, thanks for joining. This is Live with Miami's Community News, and I'm Michael Miller. Special guest today is Rabbi Ari Werbler from the Southwest Miami Chabad. Close enough.
Works.
All right, it does work. Thanks for being here, Rabbi.
Thanks for having me.
So we met about a year ago, I think.
Yeah.
You came out to our house, right?
Yes.
They were with you, with your son, I think.
Yeah.
And I think he was trying to play basketball, but you had a basketball or soccer ball with you. And he still plays?
Oh yeah. He was all-star at his camp last year, I think, and now he's actually at camp this summer. A wonderful opportunity. They have a segue camp between 8th grade and high school experience, so they get to learn and prepare for the next level, and at the same time do trips. So they have a nice synchronicity. I'm jealous. I wish I could go to.
You remember those days well?
Oh man,
I was like, yeah, man, it's June. Let's go. And then school starts getting back in session in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And that's when the traffic restarts.
Yeah.
So tell us about upcoming holidays that are happening and some of the services that you provide at Chabad.
So we've been fortunate. I mean, many people know it seems maybe a little bit early. Rosh Hashanah is not too far away. We've just hit our 1-year anniversary, as you mentioned. So we're in our, I like to call terrific twos now. Happy birthday, us. But all that means is just as the child grows, we have more to do. So we don't wait for the big holidays. And I was just speaking to a community member last week. The beautiful thing is we always have something going on. This week we have 2 lunch and learns, one in a business, one in our home. We have a challah bake on Thursday. And then Shabbat is like a chance to really reconnect with the community at home.
So one of the things that we recognize is that people want local and they want to belong to something. You can call it the women's club. You can call it the underwater basket club.
Yeah.
You know, you can call it the fishing club. You can call it Chamber of Commerce club.
Yes.
So what is it that people find so attractive about attending the functions that you do? What do they get from that club, if you will, that organization?
So I think it's a wonderful thing. Actually, my good friend Rabbi Mendy Felek, who's been on your show.
Actually, my wife's show.
Yeah, on your wife's show.
But
correct.
thank you anyway.
Yes, with your wife. And he said he put it in such a beautiful way. When you promote something, usually you're trying to sell somebody something additional to what they already have. The beautiful thing about our faith and our tradition is you're already a member of the club. And so you're just kind of inviting somebody home. And it's the opportunity to pick up what elements of your own faith, your own tradition that you're already in ownership to. So people love that feeling that when they come and they walk into her house and they feel like, hey, this woman told us this week, she said, I just feel like I'm family already, you know, and it's just, that's really what we're about.
So my wife several years ago took it to New York, and I wind up in, forgive me, I forget what city it was.
In Crown Heights, 770.
And so I said, you know, my grandfather somewhere in there was here, somewhere in here many, many, many years ago. And so I started getting, what's the word?
Emotional?
Yes. And then we go to this store, and it's all 100% Jewish stuff for sale.
Yeah.
I'm standing in the middle of the store, bawling, out of control,
right,
not able to say anything. My wife's looking at me. I go, what can I tell you?
Right.
There's that feeling that I had of this closeness, but yet this, why can't I get more? What am I doing not getting more?
Right.
I just came across a picture. I just actually found it over the weekend. I have it in the other room. When I was running the New York Marathon, and we get to the area, I think it was Crown Heights, and all of a sudden I see all these Orthodox. I tell a friend of mine, I said, I'm running across the street. I want to get a picture.
Yeah.
So there I am standing in front of the synagogue with the Orthodox people around. I said, can I get your picture? Yes. So that was 1990 or 91.
Right.
So I sent it to my wife, all right? I brought it home to her. I said, look. And that's when that journey for me sort of started a little bit. Even though I was not raised as Jewish, I was raised as Unitarian. And then my wife got more and more involved. And I joke with her now, see, I was right at the door.
Yeah.
I said, I was just waiting for something to get me inside. And I think that we all find our place however we want to participate. And I was at a funeral recently, and the pastor happened to be a woman. Said, we're going to do a prayer. Please join us on whatever level you would like. Right. And I said, she gets invited back. Because when we recognize that it's up to us to do it, there's not this mandate that you have to do this, you have to do this. And that's what I've seen when I've been to the Chabad there. You can participate on whatever level. You could be, You could be standing at the doorway looking in, you could be sitting down, or you could be actually making some food over there. And so for me, it's been a wonderful journey, and certainly you have been part of that, making me be more aware of where I'm at. And there's a TV show, Find Your Roots. And when I see these people that are where this, I forgot the gentleman's name, he looks back in their in their history, and then some of them say, "Oh, I'm part Jewish," and they see this proudness that is there. And my question to you is, when we see that where people are proud of that, how can the same moment in the same community called the Globe or in the United States, there be this rise in anti-Semitism? Tell us about that and how it affects your psyche and how you grew up with that.
I think that actually the question is somewhat the answer, as we say in our tradition, is when something touches you at the core so much, and it's so much about an identity thing, right? And you can't explain something. It's like, very much our society and reasonably, we're thinking beings. The human mind and intellect wants to know, why is this? Why are these people, this small nation, for so long been able to withstand so much persecution and so many things and still come out not only okay, but in contributing positive things to the society, whether it's in science, technology, morality, really morality, right? It's not that we're perfect, by the way. We're humans. We're not supposed to be. We're all, like you said, souls in progress here. At the same time, there's something that they want more of. They want to understand better. So I guess like resistance training, as you get the band gets tighter, it makes you stronger. And so the lesson often that the Lubavitch Rebbe would say for us is that, wait, so this is an indication that really they're waiting for us to be proud of ourselves, like you said, to have that sense of pride and express it more. Say, listen, we have now marketing in America, technology. Let's access these things, right? The land of the free and the land of the brave, to be both brave and free to be who we are. And in that way, actually, the world will perceive it.
Jewish population throughout the country of the world is 0.02.
Yeah.
It's a tiny part. So you bring up your point. Not only is Judaism much better than before, it's starting to grow, and I see that. And here in Miami-Dade County, they said there's been a significant growth, mostly in Orthodox here in Miami-Dade County. Looked it up last night. Right? It was like so pleasant. So my wife probably said, "Oh, those in New York is coming down," but I sense that very much. Have you met Vicky, State Representative Vicky Lopez?
No, I haven't.
Right. She was here the other day. She probably knows more of the same people that you know than any other non-Jew, that even Jewish people, because she found this identity in there, even though that she's not Jewish. She started studying the Holocaust, and to watch her go through the process of explaining things in Coconut Grove and with your Chabad and down south was remarkable, that more people are getting involved with that. So again, let's talk about events that you have coming up on a regular basis. Tell us about some of those.
Well, I think there's a tie here. There's an underlying theme to everything we're speaking about. Both you said about observing at the level that you can. You use the word Orthodox too. I think I've said this before. Labels are for T-shirts. As far as people goes, and I think what you mentioned, Victoria noticed as well. There's a message for every individual. Judaism is maybe less of a religion, but a way of life. So when we have both, actually, there's mitzvahs. There, people know the word mitzvah. Mitzvah means to connect. There are universal mitzvahs for every nation within our faith. Not that everyone has to be Jewish, that you have a unique role. Like we're all in the same boat here from Noah, to use the pun intentionally. And then also in our events, like I mentioned, that we have coming up. We have a lunch and learn on Tuesday and Wednesday this week, for example. I have one at office and one at our home. And then we have a challah bake. Now, each one of these events has something and touches somebody in a different way. Somebody in their business is able to stop in the middle of their lunch day and think, hey, wait a second, what I'm doing here has a greater impact and significance. And in making challah, who really brings in the dough, right? I think it might be me, but my wife is the one preparing it, and it's the one that reaches the mouth, and it's much more prepared than, actually, people don't even take dollar bills anymore, right? It's all electronic. And the feeding ourselves, nurturing ourselves, right? For a Shabbat meal is the idea of a home and looking at our children and our spouses and our friends and our community in the eye and connecting with them, that's not a religious thing. I mean, it is, but it's more of a people thing.
So, and if I would have understood that a little bit more, and started figuring out this religious aspect, which sort of baffles me, anyway, I took a class called the Course of Miracles 30 years ago. About halfway through the course, I said to Susan, my wife, I said, I think I got it. And then finally I said to myself, you really think you got it? And what % do you think you got of it? I said, no, I didn't get it. I'm just, the door is starting to creak open. The part of the culture of it, that's the part that I'm really enthralled with. I see the connection that is there. There's this common theme. Yes, not everybody, but a lot of people are Jewish, but it's the culture of what you're doing and you can create for your children, your grandchildren.
Exactly.
And so, and for your if you were Jewish, for your parents. So what is it that people like about the culture of this, of Judaism?
Well, okay, so I don't think the culture for Judaism, like I said, like it's not a religion, it's a way of people, it's a people, it's a way of being. That is the religion. The religion is not something, the religious word has kind of been hijacked to mean, this mandate and these things that this code of law, which we do say the Shulchan Aruch is called the code of Jewish law, but the word halacha is like the word hailech. Here's a path for you. I just saw my father this week. He lived long while he was an inspiration for me. And he said, we're talking about my son going to high school and his next level of life. He's not going to go on the wrong way. He's going to go on his way. And as long as we guide them. So what do we have in Judaism? We have a tradition of ways to guide each other. If you have the book and you open up, 4/5 of it is about doing business. How do I treat people honestly? The synagogue's like a sliver, like one slice. And so the center of the Jewish life is the Jewish home. And I think that's a real lesson. And why does that touch people so much? Is because it's not a something handed to us, like we were saying before, like, here's your mandate. It's like, wait, this is already who I am. Like when you stood there at the marathon and you see the people across the street, you're like, we're already brothers. How can I see that more in my life? That I don't have to look for that. It's inside me already.
There's a woman that I know, she says, Michael, I'm really not into Judaism, but I go to the Jewish women's classes offered by one of the Chabads. That's what she likes. She likes the culture of that. And if she wants to stick her head into the synagogue, great. But she found that home and being able to participate with that. And when, I don't know, about 15 years ago, I was at one of the Chabads and the rabbi says, here, hold the Torah. I got so nervous that he came over to me and said, are you all right? I said, no, I'm not all right. He said, let me take that from you. I said, perfect. That it just shook me to the core. Where I was afraid of, probably the same way I was in the store and everything was there, but I was more concerned that I might drop it, right? Which you're not supposed to do that, right? But the point was that when you start to recognize there's this connection, that it matters. When the Ukrainian war first started, I reminded myself that my grandfather was from Ukraine. It impacted me so much. I'm thinking, why am I so sad about this? Because there's this connection, to that. That means that somewhere in there are relatives that are still there. And once we have that connection, it feels good. I asked my son-in-law. Well, he asked me, where were your parents buried? Blah blah. I said, somewhere in Chicago. Do you know, an hour later, he had their tombstones of my great-grandparents, and it's like, wow. Then I showed it to my son-in-law. I said, here you go. And to have that access to that so immediately really impacted me. And it was a very good connection. I know that there are probably, thousands of people in Miami are wondering about where to go and how they can feel a connection and to belong. And what I tell people is, try whatever it is, try it out. And there's no, again, if they walk into your Chabad over there, or the one in Pinecrest or wherever it is, right? You're going to realize, as Sam Sack said to me, you belong here.
It's a beautiful way to put
it. And when he told me that a night of whatever, there were 2 nights, excuse me, I don't remember. The next day, it got in my brain, I showed up because he said, you belong here. And so what do we do for people that really want to belong, that haven't quite made the entrance into that door into either reinvigorating a culture or to experience it? What can they do without making this big commitment?
Well, you alluded to it yourself. You mentioned that this woman went to one Chabad house and she got involved in one of the classes. And if she wanted to stick her head into the synagogue, she could. The more people I'm meeting, again, the sense of community. Listen, I'm a funny looking guy sometimes to certain people. So the more they meet, the truth is, once they meet my wife or they meet my children, they say
it mitigates this whole.
It's not so scary. It's not so scary. But the thing is that, and I don't think it was ever really this way. The synagogue in general, I think, traditionally in our culture, Jewish culture, was a meeting place. It was a place where people from the community could come and talk and say, I need somebody to help. I need a plumber. I need somebody to help at home. So the synagogue has become a lot of times this like brick and mortar building of many, many members, and the person feels like, and someone just told me this the other week, they're lost sitting in the back of the synagogue. They feel like a spectator. And they come to my house and they feel like a participant. And so the idea is that we are all part of the service. Like we're all, and if there's a situation, like you said, with the Sefer Torah, whether you're holding it and you felt a sense of, and I would say the word is called yira. We have two words in Hebrew. One is pachad, which is like fear. It's like, you said, it's like when a kid, you say, don't touch the fire. There's a necessity to say, don't do that, because you don't want the person to get hurt. There's an immediate danger, a tiger at your door. But the real relationship we have with our being is a yira. It's an awe. Like, it's awesome. Not awful, awesome, hopefully. And that's awe-inspiring. And a sense of like, wow, that there's something here that I respect within myself, within my community. And that brings joy too. The ava, is the love, is there's an ava that's a result of yira. There's a love that comes from a sense of awe. When you respect something, there's a true awe. There's a true love there. It's not an infatuation. It's not like an immediate gratification. It's more like, wow, this is something I want to build on. And I think people are open to that. They want that experience of being part of the community, not spectators to it, and to know that there is a place for them. It takes time. Every relationship doesn't happen overnight, right? People get all excited about weddings. Weddings are really fun, but the marriage starts the next day, right? Or I'm going to have a child. It's a wonderful thing. The next day, the child's going to need a diaper change. That's the real relationship. But that's where the connection really builds. So I find that with people in our community, they start to come more when they feel a trust, and we try to provide that for whatever their needs might be.
So often, especially here in Miami, we see a Jewish person may not marry a Jewish person.
Mm.
So tell us about how when you counsel people, what that conversation looks like.
I think like anything in our lives, and I've experienced a lot of twists and turns in my experience, that there is nothing that happens with us or to us that is not intentional, right? And we see the people that comes, or like the dates in our lives, it's all part of the plan. So what led me here today, I have, say, a couple that comes regularly, right? And the interaction, he is enamored by a lot of the Jewish practices, which are different to him, and he asks a lot of good questions. And she feels like she's coming home. She, like you said, like, this is where I belong. And so it actually provides a sense of meaning and purpose for each one of them in their own way. It's, again, we're not trying to make everybody Jewish. That's like making all my children the same, do things the same way. So I look at each one of them and see how and what level of meaning and purpose can we provide for their needs. I think there's a great thing that and I've noticed this here. I've noticed this in when other places I've lived. For example, I was a community member that I went to visit, and I brought him a challah, and at first he didn't want to take it, and because he felt that if he took the challah, there was some sort of transactional requirement that, like, I'm going to expect him to come to my house. And I said, there's no agenda here. The word is, I think, no agenda. There's none of my own agenda. It's what is your needs, and what can we fit to make your day-to-day life more purposeful and meaningful. And for a relationship like that, each one has their unique, we say derech, like we said, not a wrong way, their way. And so what meaning can we, for Judaism has something for everybody, You don't have to be Jewish to have that.
So frequently when we go to people's houses, there's this little thing on the doorway up on the door jamb. It's maybe about the large that's there. Tell us what that is and why they go onto doorways, not just including on the exit and the entrance doors.
Yeah, let's call them mezuzah. And the only way to illustrate the best illustration of what that is that there was a nephew of the Roman Caesar who had heard about the Jewish culture, and he wanted to go check it out. And by the way, now this gentleman is one of the foremost translators that we have in the actual Torah we have from him. So he told his uncle, I want to go explore. So he goes to Jerusalem and he starts learning. He sees, look at these people with one culture, one people, one God, one diet. This is pretty incredible, this unity here. And he gets involved more and more. The Roman Caesar picks up on what happened nephew. It's not good advertising for him. So he sends a group of soldiers. And the group of soldiers go and they hear and they decide to stay also. He sends, I'm shortening the story, and a second group and a third. He says to the third group, he says, listen, don't say a word to my nephew. Just pick him up and bring him back. Please don't say anything. Don't get into conversation with him. Here you go. They're following their orders directly. They pick him up. And as they're walking out, one of the soldiers goofs up. He sees what you said, the mezuzah on the door. He says, what's that? He says, oh, many times in the world, the higher class, the kings, the leaders, they like to sit in the back, right? They make their calls from the Oval Office or from the skybox. Our leader goes with us. Every entering and every leaving, he goes in front of us. Our God, and from that they ended up staying.
Frequently, you see people that touch the mezuzah. What is that?
So it's a constant reminder. I say this joke frequently, right? I say to my wife, I love you. She says, okay, so get off the couch and do something. So listen, as physical beings in this world, this is, I think, another message of Judaism, and that we have a synchronicity of physical and spiritual life. And I think that's necessary. And that's what the world wants to hear. It's not about necessarily going to the Himalayas. This means to not judge other cultures, that I have to be a saint or a sinner, right? Choose Vegas or choose a separation from the world. Wait, 95% of our lives, and I know my human beingness has desires, it has physical involvement. I need to eat, I need to sleep, I have relationships. And within those relationships, the physical things that we put on tefillin, say for the men, we need a lot more jobs sometimes, reminders that the physical world that we're participating in is a spiritual place. I don't have to go anywhere to find it. I'm just coming home, and I could do it from my own dalet amos, as we say, from within my own aura, my own sphere. And just backtracking to the conversation we did have about relationships, I think it is something important for couples to consider. You spoke about a couple that's already in that relationship. I think a lot of people get into talking about long-term relationships, right? And I think Rabbi Felix spoke about this with your wife, is that we start a relationship based on how we feel. And if it feels good, if the movies were nice, if the thing was this, but if to begin with, we assess our values, I think you could see that a lot of couples will choose to stay within their own faiths across the board, knowing that if I'm building a family, this is actually a good foundation to start on. That's just one consideration from that side as well, I think.
So you did graduate studies here in Miami, the University of Miami, and then had you lived here prior to that?
Well, I came in two different. Well, this is right now our third time since I've lived here. I had started a degree. I finished. I pursued more rabbinical degrees and came back to finish my rabbinical degree with my master's. But all that means that I'm still learning. There's a lot to learn.
But then you said, "Yeah, I want to go back there," meaning to Miami. Tell us about that journey.
Yeah. So now we're a year in. We have like we said, our birthday campaign. There's a little video at the top. If you check out Chabad, swmiami.org, and at the top there says birthday campaign. There's a little video. Your wife's in the video, and we have some other friendly faces. One of the faces is actually in Austria, and I met him on the plane, and he still keeps in touch with me. But I hope he comes visit us again. It's an incredible thing, all the faces you meet along the way, and more and more we're seeing people becoming part of our family. In coming here a year ago, now it's a little over a year. Again, I think I've said this to you before. My friend Mr. Goodman would say NC, no choice. Use abbreviation. It sounds powerful. It was like we were making impact where we were, but there was a community here, and I mentioned my friend Rabbi Felig, and the infrastructure. Everybody I'm meeting here says, "I thought I was the only one out here," and I said, "No, that's what your neighbor told me too," and coming to our home, there's a sense of community.
About when you said about NC, no choice. Yeah. Tell us about the upper ends of that.
Yeah, so it's like, well, I guess we do always have a choice. Obviously we do. Yeah.
But the drive to do that, and my understanding is, it's like it's in me. I need to go do that.
Exactly. Yeah. It's almost like everything we talked about before this. There's an identity thing that's like a place. You use the example of a wattage in a light bulb before, like that. My light needs to shine somewhere. So like, what do you mean? Don't let it. Turn it on. It's got to go wherever. We're figuring out where it's got to go.
November, we were nominated for an Emmy for a video that we did with the 105-year-old Jewish soldier who wound up guarding Hitler's house and took all the stationery, sent letters to all his friends, and bought stationery. And he sent one to his wife, which he found. Right? So it was an 80-year-old letter. When we went for the awards, there was a room and I had 850 journalists. I said, that's around 300 different entities. And I thought about all the stories that were told that year. Thousands of stories were told by this group of people. So I left there, I go, what story can I bring forth? What stories can we do?
Yes.
Then I realized it was one of those NC moments. No choice, you have to do this. So we just completed 7 interviews with Holocaust survivors, and then we put it together as a documentary. It was a 3-month project, and Fair Sachs was one that narrated it and put it together, did the interviews, and Nestor Andres put it together from an editing point. And I said, we need to do this. I said, we have no choice. We must do this.
Right.
So I said to Fair about 3 months ago, you feeling it? And she goes, feeling what? I said, you're not feeling it yet. So 2 months ago, I go, you feeling it? She says, I think so. A couple of weeks ago, I said, you feel it? She said, yes, sir. Right. So now we're arriving. I don't think you ever arrive, all right? And so when we put that together, it was one of those things that the genesis of that, besides being many, many decades ago, but when I saw that picture of me standing in front of that synagogue in New York with those people that look like you, and then me in my shorts, all right? I went, that all it was the buildup of that. What can we do to tell other people's stories? And I think that it is vital that whenever somebody has a story, they got to tell it, right? And the time to tell a story is now.
Yeah.
Because if you don't tell it now, it's going to change, and your passion for it is going to change. So tell me your story about why you became a rabbi.
I think it's relevant to your experience and what you're saying about the NC, right? Because as you were talking, I'm trying to be, an active listener, and not you think about what I'm going to say next, but you just inspired me within my own head. I'm seeing a lot of people. You have motivational speakers, and you have people trying to guide our culture, and like you said, the story's changing all the time, especially with media. Like what are our values? Where do we come from? And he was saying about parenting that it's good to share stories with lessons in it. Things that build character for our children and for the next generation. And he's bringing stories from all different people, maybe like Luget, people who have challenges and have overcome them. And I think what touched you, perhaps, right, a bit, and what touched me in my journey was, we have a story. We have a story. Not only, we don't have to look elsewhere for our own family history. We have a family history. We say Ein Mishpacha, we're one family, and our family has, for generations to generations, persevered, not only survived, but thrived. we go in with a song, and I think that always spoke within me. The rabbi thing, okay, that's a title. That's I'm not looking to be CEO of Judaism on my office table. The idea is that here's something that I know, I guess, is bubbling up inside of me, and I think it's within each one of us. We all have the Moses in me, as we might say, and that's something that we all want to share. I was just learning last week about Tfilat L'Moshe, and I'll say it briefly, that Moses, he was a leader, right? He took us out of Egypt and onto the Promised Land. He had a prayer. It's a prayer of a wealthy person, it calls it in our tradition. What does it mean for a wealthy person? And we're not just talking wealthy physically. Like we said, the material and spiritual wealth of a person are really interconnected, right? When I can appreciate what I have, then I'm wealthy, right? And the fact that I have something else to give. So Moses' desire, now when you say a prayer means usually something that I'm reaching out to something greater than myself, that I really get it, like you said earlier, like there's more to the picture. So his desire, his innermost prayer was that each one of us knows our own individual wealth as well. And like you said, I think everybody's looking for that connection on a deep and really intimate level. And the only reason I could be in the position I'm in is because I recognize that within myself too. And we're all extensions of that. And that we all have something to share to feed that. This woman who came to our house this past week, I went to her door. We thought I was at her brother's house and she was not feeling well. I said, wrong person, wrong timing. She came twice last week. And she's been a sign language interpreter for Shimon Peres at a wedding, at a bris. And she has so much knowledge to share, great questions, and all she does is want to learn. I'm like floored by her experience and her knowledge. And we thought it was the wrong house. Like there's something bigger going on here.
Well, when I watched your son interact with guests and with you, I thought it was remarkable. Oh, very educated, very bright.
I'll have to tell him.
Right? And not afraid.
Yeah.
I've watched him in the interaction with you. He was able to have a conversation about a common subject, which is about Judaism and some of its practices. I was delighted to see him do
Thank
that.
you for saying.
And
well, it takes one to know one. You can only notice in him what you're already doing daily.
I was about to applaud him. All right,
I got to tell him.
And he plays some instruments, no?
Yeah, he could play a couple. I don't want to get too much, but mainly he could hear by ear and play a song on the piano, like just whatever. It's a talent.
So sometimes we see on Facebook where there'll be a pianist, and people will come over and say, "Can you play that song?"
He can do it.
And sometimes they'll listen to it for a moment, and you go, and I know it's not fake, all right?
Yeah.
Go, because this is a perfect example where they're in tune to that. So my hats off to you and to his mother for making a fine young man.
Him, he also has a unique path, as my father said. So he's
Rabbi, we're going to wrap it up.
Sure.
But why don't you look into, look right over there at that camera.
Okay.
And give them the website address,
sure,
and contact information.
So we're at Chabad of Southwest Miami. It's Chabad swmiami.org. You can find upcoming programs, events going on every week. A short video, like I mentioned at the top of the page, showing what we've done so far. But obviously, it's only we're only 1 year old, so it's like just reaching our terrific twos, and there's always more to give, and we'd love to see how we can help anybody in the community and learn from you as well. We're all growing here, and thank you for the time for Mr. Miller, and we appreciate coming here and all that he does in spreading his message throughout the world.
All right. Thank you so much for being here.
Honor.
And we're going to look right back at the red camera. Remember, folks, take care of yourselves and your family. Give them a hug today. Have a great day. Thank you. Bye now.